Alright, welcome back to part 7. This part of the video we're going to try and replace the current capsule that we have as our player. We're going to replace this capsule with an animated character. So the animated character that I'm going to get will be a link will be in the description to the zip file that you can download. When you've downloaded it, you can extract it and you'll end up with a few files. So I have a gun and an animated Lego character and the two textures that are required for that. So these just need dragged into your scene, so I'm just going to drag them straight into my assets, called the Lego Man folder, and I'm just going to, in this video, just go over how to set this up and get it working. So the simplest thing right now is if we look at the simple first-person controller and we look and see how he's set up. We've set him up so that we have, and supposed to be intelligent, but we've set him up so that this capsule is the actual thing that you see, and all we're really going to do is we're going to replace that model with that one. So we're just going to bring that in and replace it, but we're going to set that model up first. So what we're going to do is just drag this character in. So we're going to look at a few of the options here for this character, and we will set them up a little bit later. Right now everything should be set up fairly well. We leave the rig as generic, we'll leave the animations coming in, and the materials should all be set up. If we drag one out onto our scene, you'll see it's about the right size as well. What we need to do, however, is get that gun into position. So if we drag the gun out onto the scene, you'll see the same thing. It's about the right size, you don't need to scale it, but we do need to put it on the right place on the character. So I'm just going to stuff about for a few seconds, just trying to get this into the right place. So once it's approximately good, the reason I'm doing it now, getting into position now, is I'm going to parent it up once we've got it in approximately the right position. So it doesn't look too bad. Press F to focus on it and Alt to orbit around. That looks okay. Gun 1, however, needs to go on the right hand of the character. So if you go down the hierarchy of this character, you'll get Spino 1, Spino 2, Spino 3, and then you get the, make the window bigger, you get the right shoulder, the upper arm, the forearm, and then you finally get to his hand. So we can drag gun 1 now straight onto hand as a child of hand, and it should set its positions and rotations all correctly relative to that hand now that it's in position. So what we're going to do with this this guy right now is we're going to drag him on to the prefab that we have right now. Now when we try and do this, it may work. It will say open the prefab. If we open up the prefab, you'll see that it isn't there. So one way we can do this is we can right click on this and we can unpack that prefab completely so that it's just a game object right now, and we can drag the player, the Lego man, onto it right now. So I'm just going to drag it straight onto player, and then I'll leave the capsule there and move this guy into position. So I'm pretty sure it's position 0, 0 and 0, and then I'll move him down so that his feet are just out the bottom, and I can view from the side and orthographic just to be certain that his feet are just touching the bottom here. Now that I've got him in position, I can just focus in on him here. He looks like he's in the right position. I can actually get rid of this capsule now. So this player now is our new prefab, and it now contains the Lego guy. And there's a few things that we need to set up now that we've done that, so we can get it working. So what I will do is I'll overwrite the prefab. So if I just go into the simple first person controller where the prefab is, and I'll take this one and drag it straight on, and that will replace the prefab with the existing one. There's a few things I still need to change, and I'm going to do the one on the scene, and I'll just need to remember to make sure that any changes I make, I apply those. But the one that's on the scene right now, if we go down all of the if I go down all of these components and just make sure that they're all still set up correctly. So our network transform is fine. The first person controller script, we're going to have to make some changes to. The laser gun is now slightly different, so we still have that component somewhere, I believe, but we're going to have to change that. I think the component, we put it on the main camera, so we can actually just copy this. In fact, no, we can probably just drag and drop it. So if we drag and drop this straight onto the gun, oops, there we go. We'll do it inside of the prefab. So we'll open up the Lego man, open up, keep going until we get to it. So right shoulder, right forearm, one more, right hand, and then we'll take this laser gun and we'll drag it straight onto gun 1. So if we look at the top level one right here, zoom into him, this laser gun, this should be at the same position, so let's just zero this out, we'll reset those positions, and then we'll move it up and forward so that we can put it just at the end of the gun. And one little trick that I used was just to switch this world space off so we can see where it is first up, and then we can put world space back on. One thing I just noticed actually, yeah, no, that's okay. So now that it's all in position, it just seemed really long for some weird reason. I don't know why that is. Hopefully that should be okay. Yeah, we'll go with it and see if it's alright. So it is nice and short when it's down here. It's just weird when it comes on. I think it's because of the scaling of some of these other the other parts of this. I think the scale's 100 on that. Yeah, there's high scale on some of them. So we'll keep going and fix any problems as we get to them. So we go back there, we've got the gun set up. So if let's look at this guy. So we do have the laser gun set up, and the other thing that we needed was so the health is okay. Yeah, the laser gun script needs to make sure it's still pointing to the correct one, so we'll just drag and drop them on just in case they've lost connection, but it looks like they're okay. So that's pretty good. We will need to make some changes to the first person controller script. If we open this up, I'll show you the ones that we need to do. What we're going to do is, instead of moving the camera up and down, we're actually going to change one of the bones inside this character. We're going to move the bone up and down so that the camera moves with that. You'll see right here the camera is currently a child of the player, and if we did this, the gun wouldn't move when the camera moves, because the gun's no longer a child of the camera, it's a child of the hand, and it should be like that. It's the way we want it to be. So we'll take this main camera and we're going to put this onto the neck bone, and so that the camera will move as the head moves. So we'll drag the camera on like that, and you'll see we can put it up a little bit so we can see what the camera sees. So we can see the end of the gun just there. I might actually put it back just a touch as well so we can see a bit more of the gun. So yeah, as we move it, we're going to want to be able to move the camera as part of the head, and you'll also see that it will be affected by the animation later on as well. So that's pretty good. I'm going to take this guy off the scene right now. We are going to look at this first person script because although it will move around right now, there will be some problems. So what I'm going to do is the camera transform up the top of the script. I'm just going to make this public, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn this camera transform, this will be the pitch. When we pitch the camera up and down, we're actually just going to turn this into one of the bones, and we're going to move the bone up and down. We're going to rotate the bone rather than the actual camera. What that does mean is that we have to set the camera component and audio listener a slightly different way, because they're not going to be part of the transform. So basically this line we can comment out, we're not going to use it, and what we're going to do here is we are just going to simply say get component in children, because we know it's somewhere down there. So get component in children camera and set its enabled state to false, and then exactly the same situation with the get component in children again for the audio listener, and again we're going to set this disabled. So this will simply find the camera component and then disable it, find the audio listener component and disable it, and therefore when we pitch up and down over here, what we're actually pitching is one of the bones. So let's just set that up. This is all saved. Go back to our project, we go to the assets and the prefab for the player, and now you'll see inside the first person controller script there is a camera transform, and the one we're going to use is actually spine 002. We're going to drag that onto here, and that will move the spine up and down as we move the pitch up and down. You might want to bump these down a little bit. Actually might just type in 20 degrees and minus 20 degrees, because otherwise it's going to look pretty weird with it pitching really far. If we go back out of this, I'm just going to show you what it looks like. So we should have the character moving around. You can still you can see his shadow here, it's not animated, but he's able to pitch up and down, and he's still able to shoot as before, and it already looks a lot better. So I just quickly went ahead and built this out so that you can have a little look at what it looks like, and we can look at the problems. I don't want this video to go on for too long, so host with this one, client with this one. You'll see that you've now got the character running around, and you can still shoot, and you can see it looks a lot better already, but it's still not quite there. They are already networked, so everything's the same as it was before, only we have a bit of a character. In the next video we're going to do the animations and get those synced across the network.